Cool. Okay, perfect. Thanks for coming along, and thanks, Trudy, for helping me coordinate this. So, for those that don't know, my name's Tim. I'm an exercise physiologist. I'm one of the owners and trainers at the gym downstairs. I've been working as an ex-phys for nearly 15 years now, and the purpose behind trying to put this together and build this little workshop for some corporate health and well-being is basically my experience and understanding working with people. And it should seem logical is that if we're spending 7, 8, 9 hours a day, 4, 5, 6 days a week together in the same place, in the same structures and environment, that there's a certain, an undeniable truth that our health is going to be impacted and is influenced by that setting. So I think there's a capacity for our own personal health to be enhanced by the people around us, by understanding our environment a little bit better, and also giving some education and awareness to whether it's management or the people that organise our workplaces and environments to have some responsibility for the people in that space to help them be healthier. Because the basic understanding of health is that if one person's health improves, it benefits everyone around them. And then the converse of that is true. If someone's health declines, it impacts everyone around them as well. So if we can accept certain truths, then it gives us a bit of a platform to stand on if we want to make some changes. So what we'll do in this is work through a little bit of a foundational context, understanding health. I'll get a bit of an understanding of what you know about health and how it impacts you and what you currently kind of do. And then we'll go through some really brief exercises, which are, again, designed around awareness. So helping you understand your behaviors, how stress in particular impacts your behavior and your health. And then also how do you form strategies to change? Because one of the hardest things is changing behavior. So we all often understand when things aren't quite right and we want to change, but the hardest part is implementing that in the face of some of the uncontrollables that we might have. Sound cool? Wonderful. If you've got any questions at any point, call out. This is very much going to be hopefully a bit of give and take around helping me understand you and you understanding me and the message that we want to get across. At the end, you'll have a bit of a framework for yourselves of how you can perhaps manage your own health, but then also how you can interact with each other. If these are people that you see often, then you should be able to approach this as a bit of a team environment in terms of improving not only your health, but kind of the outcomes and performance of the group. So, all right, if we start with the first kind of basics there, we're looking at, what do we define as health? So, does anyone have any ideas? How would you define health? Feel good, yeah. What else?
I think it's like similar kind of like feeling like full of energy.
Yeah, energy levels. What else? Anything else? Yeah, so it's, in terms of definition-wise, it's the absence of disease is the technical definition, but it goes beyond that into optimal physical, mental, and social functioning. And we should accept that everybody has or should have the right to pursue that for themselves. And if that right is kind of taken away, then we're not really doing the right thing by our individuals here. So the other thing we need to look at is how do you actually measure your own health? So you guys have already kind of touched on that. Oh, I feel good. I have my energy levels are up. So how else would you know if you're in good health?
You're in control.
In control of?
Well, you're in control of what your mental state. You're not going to be too hesitant and stuff because you're a lot sharper because your mental and physical state is in good condition.
Yeah. So a bit of control. That's almost like a performance element too. You're firing on all cylinders. Yeah. You're in check. Yeah. What else? Belt notches. Yeah. Yeah. So we typically know that when things in our body go out of whack, our body changes, right? So if you, for an extreme example, if you get cancer, you're going to rapidly lose weight. If you change your diet and you start to eat things and do certain behaviors that aren't necessarily good for you, you might gain weight. So changes in your physical appearance, structure, those sort of things, definitely. What else?
You're sleeping well.
Yeah, sleep. Cool. So there's a few different things, and they probably tick off. Your doctor measures some, but you can measure a lot more because you are the master of your domain. You know when your sleep is not normal. You know when your belt line is not normal. You know when you feel out of control. So you should be the first point of call for when something is off, and that's often before symptoms present, so symptoms of disease or health. So if we think of that model of the absence of disease, you don't want to wait till you get a disease to be sick or to be making changes, right? So you guys can implement those changes first. The last point we want to talk about is the motivation to change health. It's a tricky one because everybody knows that health is important. If you had to scale it out of 10 out of 10 importance, everybody would probably agree, yeah, health is a 10 out of 10 important thing to me. But how often do we actually, how much time do you dedicate to that each day relative to the other things in your life? If you measured the importance, if someone viewing your life said, okay, how much does this person value their health based on the time they spend dedicated to it? Maybe a bit lower than a 10 out of 10. Probably closer to like a 3 or 4. Would that be fair assessment? So motivation to change is really important when it comes to health, and we often put it off because we think it's, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. There's always a hope to change because the consequences of our behaviors when it comes to our health are not always immediate. Unless you're undertaking some really risky behaviors, the consequence is down there. Whereas if I don't meet this deadline, get this job done, attend this meeting, the consequence is much, much, much sooner. So we have to understand that the complexities of life will influence our behavior. Things that are important to us take priority, but then things that have a shorter time to consequence will also take priority. And then the things that we're confident in changing will take priority. If I know I'm not very good at exercise, if I know I'm not very good at cooking for myself, the likelihood of me changing those things goes down. Whereas if I'm really confident at exercise, I'm going to do it tomorrow because I know I can. So part of change is influencing, number one, the education, because that teaches you how important something might be to you, but then increasing your confidence to do it. And that is where some of this comes into it, because we are creating a little collective of people who understand the importance. We'll hopefully understand you guys a bit better as individuals. We're going to get a little bit open and honest with some of what we share today. You don't have to share everything, but in a team environment, if you can disclose some honesty, then it helps people support you. So what we're going to do is jump into this first little matrix here. So the 4 squares. Hey, you're right. You're just in time. So has anyone seen this matrix before? The important, urgent, not urgent. Yeah? Brilliant. So we're gonna jump into it. So the first box there, the top left, is things that are important and urgent. I want you to just write down a couple of examples of things in your life which are important and urgent. So those are the type of crisis things. They can be big crises or small crises. So a small crisis is, oh shit, I forgot to get the kids from school. Well, maybe that's a big crisis. But it's important and it's urgent, you know. So you have to go and do that thing straight away. Or it could be, oh, I forgot to email that person back. Got to do it. So jot down a few little things in your life that you recognize as important and urgent. Just need 1 or 2. And then we'll share a couple and we'll move on. I'll give you 50 seconds from now. 20 seconds. Alrighty, let's hear a couple of examples. We've got some written down here.
Oh yes, mental health is very important to me.
Is it urgent?
Yep.
So you're in need right now? You need us to act on something?
No. It's just,
so it's probably important, but not urgent, because you don't have to act on it right now. Yeah. That's all right.
Physical health, I've got, more healthy lifestyle.
So I got respond to work emails, and second one is, as you said, pick up from childcare.
Nice. Yeah. Good.
So I had a couple of troubles, so just make sure that's in the high priority.
Yeah. Cool. What else we got? We'll just get a couple more.
Well, I can't the same, actually.
Okay. It's a lot of work deadlines. Anyone else have work deadlines? Yeah, cool. Great. All right, we'll move across to the next box over. So the top right. So this is important but not urgent. So the kind of descriptor there is things that are around growth, personal development. So they're really important, but you don't have to do them right now. There's not a timeline attached to it. And try and be quite specific. The more specific you can be, the better. Give you another 30 seconds. Alrighty. What do you got? Let's hear some from down the end.
Get back to surfing.
Get back to surfing, yeah. Okay.
2 months struggling.
Good one. You like surfing? Great. What else? Exercise? Yeah. Yep. What else?
I'm probably more of a lifestyle transition. Given my age, eventually into retirement or into project.
Yeah.
It's a significant change of what I need to do.
Yeah. So
and those around me.
it's probably and the longer you delay that, they're probably going to get more urgent.
Exactly.
So yeah. Any other ones?
Spending time with friends and family.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So you can probably see the things that fall into that category are the really nice feel-good stuff as well. So some of it is going to be around planning and preparing for the future. Some of it will be around personal development, skill sets, things that you want to learn and grow up, maybe are passionate about. Other bits of it are more in tune with health. So whether that's psychological, social, or biological, doing your exercise, connecting with friends. So let's drop down into the bottom left quadrant there. So this is our not important, but urgent. This one is hopefully doesn't happen too often. So these are more like I've got it written in there. Interruptions is the way to think of it. So if you're doing something important and then the phone rings, thinking that, or it might be you might have an annoying colleague who keeps interrupting you, or so think of it as if you think of your day, what are the things that interrupt your day that are maybe not urgent? It's good if your day doesn't have a lot of these. This is a good one. I'll just give you another 10 seconds and then we'll spit some out. All right. What do we got? Any?
I'd say something about like client making a fuss about something that isn't really
Yeah.
urgent or that important.
Yeah. Cool. Good one. What else?
Unnecessary meetings.
Unnecessary meetings. Sorry, everyone. This guy. Dear diary, Tim.
Going to the bathroom. Could get an email.
I'd say it's pretty important.
No, but it interrupts your day.
It does. Yeah. Sure. Any other ones? I think those are a couple of pretty good examples. They're often things that are not really in your control. And it's important to just recognize them because they're the things that you'll often have maybe an emotional response to. Where you're like, oh, you get frustrated at those things, but they're out of your control. So trying to come up with ways to beat those is like kind of coming up with a new way to smash your head against the wall. It doesn't really work. Okay, and then we'll flip across to the last little quadrant there. So important things, but not important and not urgent. These are really easy ones. This is just distraction. So things that distract you that aren't important, aren't urgent. Hopefully you don't have many of these when you're at work, but you can think about outside of the workplace as well. So when you're at home or doing other things. Cool. Have we got any thoughts on that one?
Checking your phone and browsing when it's not required. That's just a habit that people get into.
Yeah. Just whoop.
I mean,
Well, why?
we do.
Yeah. That's a pretty good example. Any others? Okay. Keep an eye out. So just doing this will help you be a little bit more open and noticing things in your life that you go, oh yeah, that's not really important. So the things that we do kind of need to pay attention to is that obviously the top part of that little matrix. So the things that are urgent and important, those are the things that kind of outbalance our health. So health behaviors are usually in that top right corner until something goes drastically wrong and your symptoms are hectic. Then it becomes urgent and you start doing something, but our health often sits in that top right corner. So we need to find a way, understanding that the urgent and the important things aren't going to change. They're not there, but we have to be able to take some sort of proactive action to spend a bit more time in that top right corner. All right, let's flip the page there. So before we move on to this next bit, I just want to try and give you a bit of an idea about how I like to think about health versus fitness, and thinking about self-kindness and motivation. So when we think about health and fitness, they're often kind of merged together. We often think of things that are difficult. So things like, having to run on treadmills, lift heavy weights, I have to meal prep, and it's like things that require a lot of energy. And then if you think about self-kindness, when we've had if life has been hard, we'll often go for something that's easy. And for a lot of people, that is stepping away from what we would normally consider healthy behaviors. So I've had a big day, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to give myself some respite. I'm going to give myself some kindness. But in reality, if you were your own best friend, or if you had a little buddy here who was going to recommend the very best thing for you to do in any moment, it's probably some exercise. It's probably eating well. And there's an important distinction between if you're doing things for self-betterment and fitness and trying to change your body, then it's always going to be hard. But health doesn't have to be hard. So when you're trying to change behaviors for health, it should be a path of least resistance. Because that way, when you encounter your urgent and important, it's less likely to impact the health behaviors of that top right corner. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, so this top part here, the intrinsic and extrinsic box. So intrinsic and extrinsic, or introverted and extroverted, we can think of like the personality types. So everyone understands that? Introvert, quiet, extrovert. Hey. It also refers to how you interact with your environment and your world, so how you're experiencing things. So for example, a really intrinsic experience is something that is high cognitive demand, high thought, high churn in your head. An extrinsic experience is something that is happening to you and you're experiencing with your 5 senses. So you're absorbing that information. So the extremes of that, if I'm an incredibly intrinsically experienced person, is something like anxiety or depression, where the thought is just so ingrained in my head and I cannot remove myself from it, that I am stuck there and cannot act. I can't respond and I can't even notice what's going on out here. The flip side of that, the external experience or the extrinsic experience, is someone who is just constantly responding to all of the things around them. They're really distracted and they just do things without consideration of consequence. So there's people who are like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me again. And you're like, really? That's like 3 weeks in a row now. You've done that same thing. And they don't seem to learn. They don't seem to think. You're like, why don't you think of that? Come on. So those are and they're almost paralyzed by their reaction. They can't center themselves and plan. So I want you to kind of have a think about your life, your day-to-day, from when you wake up to when you go to bed. Jot down some way or experiences, how you're experiencing your day intrinsically, extrinsically. Go. So think about the things that require a high level of thought. That's a lot of personal relationships too, a high intrinsic demand as well, or can be. Give you another minute or so on this. You might have a few to jot down. So while you're writing, what we're actually doing here is just developing some skills for you, which is a part of health. Having some coping, some resilience, some understanding and awareness is a big part of that. Give me another 30 seconds. Okay. All right, you can keep writing it if you want, but we'll just start to hear some examples. So bearing in mind these are very individual and kind of dependent on the person, the skill set, their personality. Some things will seem really intrinsically experienced to some people and not to others. So this is very much your experience, and that's what matters here. Any thoughts? What have we got?
Loss of their classroom.
Yeah, huge one. Absolutely. Yeah, you'd spend hours, days, months ruminating on that. It takes up a lot of energy and space in your brain. Yeah, huge one. Thanks. Any others?
Yeah, family issues or illness in the family.
Yeah. Has anyone had sort of that sort of experience recently or this year? Illness, family, friends. Yeah. Cool. Any others? What about your jobs?
Trying to fit it all in.
Trying to fit it all in. Just life planning. Yeah. Would you say your work is high intrinsic, low? I don't know. I don't do your jobs, guys. Where are we?
We all have, I think, the same feeling about that. We're all
High demand?
high
Demand.
demand.
Yeah. So there's a lot of churn. Okay.
We have to fit it all in.
So everybody's churning away. Yeah. So I'm glad everybody wrote that down. Okay. What about the extrinsic side?
I put down, I don't know if it's right to be in the top, but you were talking about things coming at you and whatever. I put, there's temptations around you.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. You're walking around and there's the smell of fast food.
Yeah.
Just grab you and,
Yeah. Well, the smell more so is the thing there. So it's the smell you get. That's the thing that you're experiencing that's coming to you.
Yeah.
The temptation after that is the next level.
Well,
Yeah. Any other extrinsic thoughts? Or a demanding child? See, I would put that. So that's a child crying would be an extrinsic experience, but a demanding child, if it's your child, and you have to go and look after them, that's intrinsic. Like the response that you have to give, the care that you have to put into that, the sacrifice that you have to make for your child, that's intrinsic, right?
But it's somebody else's child, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's external. Yeah, but so remember the things that are external are the things you experience with your five senses, not the thought that goes with them. It's the experience of the five senses. So if you have a really high intrinsic experience in your life, if you have high cognitive demand, we need the ability to flex between those two, okay? And it becomes really important to be able to manage that in terms of your mental health. If you are constantly churning up in here internally, what happens? We get burnt out, we get frustrated, we get stuck. It's not a happy time. It's not a happy way to live. So in terms of the extrinsic part of that, sometimes we'll reach for really external inputs. Think of food. Think of drinks. Those are quick, sustainable, well, not sustainable, but quick and satisfying breaks from the internal. So if you're churning away, I just love some chocolate. It's not because you really love chocolate, but it's just super satisfying, tasty, the texture is great. So when you put it in your mouth, you just like, your brain gets to be external for a moment. And that's why we often reach for food. It's not that food is inherently addictive. It's just that it's so easy and quick to be able to grab, tastes good, the texture is great, and it gives you a little break. But things like, when we practice mindfulness, have you guys ever done any mindfulness? Yeah? How'd you do it? Tell me about it.
Meditation.
Yeah. What did it mean? Or how did you do it? What was the practice?
Basically, you just focus on one thing and not think about anything strenuous.
Yeah.
So you just focus on one thing at a time, or even just like spinning a flower or something, or being in the woods. You actually you're just focusing on where you are at the present time, which then stops any of the negativity flowing through your head. So
Yeah.
it's probably
So that, spot on relating to this, it is a deep focus on the present moment. When you think of intrinsically, you're forecasting and you're remembering. You're thinking about, why didn't I do this? What I could have done. We should have planned that better. Oh, I've got to. Or what if? That's all the intrinsic stuff. You can only experience your five senses now. You can't smell into the future. You can't hear into the past. So sensory stuff is a way of mindfulness, and you can do that very quickly. So that's why we'll focus on things like breath. Take 2 seconds, breathe in, breathe out. Feel the air go through your nose. Notice the temperature as it comes out of your mouth. Look at the sky. Have you heard of that grounding technique if someone's having an anxiety attack? Tell me 5 blue things in the room. That's grounding. That's blue, that's blue, that's blue. I can only do that now. It removes you from that future casting. So your external behaviors or moments can be really important in helping you navigate a highly intrinsically demanding job. So surfing, amazingly external experience. It's wonderful. And if you think about other health behaviors, so exercise, it's very difficult to be worried about work stuff when you're doing something really painful in your muscles. You're going to feel that more. You're going to feel your heart rate. You're going to notice your breath. You're going to be very switched on in that moment. Okay, so we're going to tie this into the last little box there. So this is going to be a little bit more personal, and it will. If you want to share some stuff, great. If you don't, also fine. But this is going to be tying some of our health behaviors and our awareness into your personal values. So have you guys ever done any like values-based training before? No? Yes? Yeah. So the reason values is quite important is that your values rarely change as a person. So you can change jobs, you can change skills, you can change environments, you can change relationships, but typically who you are as a person and the things that are important to you is going to be your foundation. And if you can tie that to your health, then it becomes a lot more motivating and a bit easier to pursue that. So if we look at this little graph here, we're looking at our internal and external again. So the top bottom left box, this is your internal monologue, your thoughts. And I want you to write down in that box, so bottom left, some of the negative thoughts that you get stuck on, that you find it sometimes hard to detach from. So this is, I'm not good enough, I can't do this again, I'm stuck, I'm going nowhere. These are the pretty deep, dark, damaging thoughts that everybody gets stuck on. So the important part of this bit of the exercise is understanding that these feelings that you're going to write down are as much a part of the human experience as happy, joy, achievement, all of that. You can't have one without the other. So these are the normal downside of the human experience. And this is where, even though we might be getting a bit honest, if you want to, this is the part that can be really helpful for each other. If you understand some of the thoughts that you have, you can lean on each other a little bit more when the time comes. I'll give you 30 seconds more. And if this is the first time you've done something like this, it can actually be quite hard. It's hard to notice your thoughts. Often you just notice that you're stuck. All right. Have we got any that anyone would like to share?
Not achieving enough in a day.
Not doing enough. Not doing enough. Could I suggest that that's probably a head nod moment for a lot of you? If you're under the pump a fair bit and there's a lot to do and you're all churning away there, that there's a bit of that, not doing enough.
What about the low hanging fruit financial?
Sorry?
What about the low hanging fruit financial?
Oh, yeah. It's a big pressure, stress. And sometimes it's that,
Is that the same thing?
how the hell is this going to work? That kind of feeling.
Is it the same thing as there is no money in this gig?
Well, I would paint that a bit more like almost like a helplessness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a same sort of thing. However you want to phrase it, it's that feeling of what's the point? It's helpless, hopeless, stuck.
In
So-
the same box, Mark.
Same box. Yeah. Any others?
So habitual.
Habitual?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Being, any bad habits and stuff, and you just
What are the thoughts that are then associated with the bad habits?
because obviously you get triggered and you may be anxious and sort of going for a walk, I just snap up in the can of beer.
Yeah.
It's just a habitual thing that I think everyone gets caught up. Could be, as you say, a chocolate bar. It could be sit down watching too much TV.
So that is going to tie in perfectly with the next little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the part above that, so the external, so this is, I want you to imagine video camera watching your life, little Truman Show moment. Yeah. Not those moments. So if you are stuck in those thoughts and you're really struggling, what behaviors would we see you do? So when you're feeling really low, how would someone see you respond? So for me, I'm quite a social guy. I withdraw. I don't want to talk to anyone. I cook less. I quite enjoy cooking, or I'll cook crap and just not really care. I usually, instead of putting my laundry in the laundry basket, it goes on the floor, doom scroll, drink more. That's me.
Mental cleaning.
Mental cleaning. Gotta clean. Yeah. Again, everybody will kind of have these different things, and these are the really important things to notice. So really have a think, what do you do? What do we see you do? So the other thing I'd like you to just consider with this one is if you're in the office and you're in one of these places mentally, what would your colleagues see you do? How does your behavior change in here? So do you become a little bit short and snappy with people? Do you spend more time like sitting down at the cafe, or what would we see you do in here as well as out there? Give you another 30 seconds on that one, because this is kind of important to understand how your behaviors are tying into where you are mentally. All right, anyone want to share? What do we see you do? Sorry? Bite your nails. Yeah, that's a good one. What else?
postpone or extend commitments.
Yeah.
So
Just, can't do it today. Can't do it today. Yeah, good one. I'm the same. Can't do it. Social.
Bottle of red?
Bottle of red. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drink alcohol. Yeah.
procrastination.
Procrastination. Yeah. Any others? Get snappy. Yeah. Same.
I'm not as loud as I normally am.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm. What else we got? There's more.
Louder than I normally am.
You're louder than you normally are. Maybe? Yeah. What else we got? Any others? Surely. This is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so there's probably a few things, and I guarantee if you did this again tomorrow and then again next week, just draw up this little the quadrant, and you had another go at doing it, you would think of some more. You would notice more. So this little square here, this is from acceptance and commitment therapy, which is a really good evidence-based mental health practice around acknowledging negative emotions and then having a values-based plan to move towards something else, which is where we're going to go now. So in the top right, bottom right. This is the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and even the people, put that in there too, that you would like to have most in your life. So for me, it's learning and exploration, connection, achievement, fun, and love. Those are my 5 things that I want to have most in my life. And you won't, you might not get this spot on today. There'll probably be some other things that if you did this again next week, you'd think of some others. But you'll probably have a list of about 5 or 6. Okay. Anyone want to share? Touch. Go. Good health. Yeah.
Happiness.
Sorry? Well-being. What does that feel like to you as an emotion? How would you describe it? Calmness. Yeah, I think calmness is maybe the word there. Equanimity. Ooh. Sheesh, yeah. So the importance here of getting these and kind of being familiar with this language of the feelings and the emotions that you want to pursue, or the thoughts that you want to have in your life, is these are what we would actually call your values, because these are the things that won't change. You always want to have these things in your life. You always want to feel calm. I want to feel connected and be able to touch. That's really important to me. I want to be able to learn and explore and connect. Like those are the things that if you changed your job, those things would still be the same. If you moved countries, those things would still be the same. So now, if we, again, look through our video camera and you were moving towards those feelings, thoughts, emotions, what would we see you do? What would you be doing? But now, what's the action that draws you closer to those thoughts, feelings, emotions? Hugging.
Writing poetry.
Yeah, good.
He's good. Communicating.
Write them down, treats. Good. So this is a really important list to get. Who's got some? We've got writing poetry, hugs, time with family. Who else had time with family? Yay, good. What else? Sleeping, yeah. Travel? No. Surf? Yeah.
Play sports.
Play sport? Yeah.
Just relax and just to hit.
Yeah. What else? Camping? Yeah. In nature. What else? Other ones? What do we got? Could be reading books. Could be playing an instrument. Could be singing. Could be anything. Shopping. Hey, could be skydiving. What else we got? What moves you towards those things that you value most in your life? Come on, if we're getting a short list here, then this is definitely something we need to work on. Talking. That's connection. So you value connection, do you, Judy? Yeah. Anyone else? What do we got? Come on. I'm going to keep poking the bear here. There's got to be more. Pardon?
Action.
What is it?
I have got action.
Action.
Yes.
As in, like, just stuff going on. Things.
Things like, keeping myself busy.
So you're not, you're so not necessarily chilling out.
Is my role, is the way I work.
Cool. Good one. Yeah.
Work hard, play hard.
Mm-hmm.
Cooking,
Cooking. Yeah.
eating, singing,
Singing. Cool.
music.
All right. Awesome. So what that list of activities is for. So basically the understanding is that at any given time, you're going to be experiencing stuff below the line, whether it's the negative emotions, thoughts, feelings, or you're going to be experiencing the good side. The thing is accepting that when you are in that, the low points, understanding that you usually go for those other things, where you withdraw, you drink more, you do that. If you can be able to zoom out and understand, instead of the thought consuming you, you're going, I'm having one of these negative thoughts. You have a moment of choice then to do something which moves you towards your values and the things you want to have most in your life. So if we were to think about some of our health behaviors, eating well, drinking water, getting some exercise, some movement for our body, sleeping well, practicing some mindfulness, connecting with our important people, where does that go? I'm really hoping you get this answer right. What quadrant are we putting that in? It's the top right. Yeah. It's going to be something that moves you towards the feel goods, right? Yeah. So if you think of the things that are important to you, those thoughts, feelings, emotions, and if your self-care and supporting yourself to pursue those things is important, then your health behaviors, no matter how small they are, is a part of that list. So if you don't do much of that right now, that's fine. But you need to have some tools in your tool belt. And I'm sure you've all got some right now that you're confident in doing. Remember, we're talking about motivation and the confidence of change. If you have one thing in your tool belt, which is healthful behavior, whether that's walking, I'm sure you can all walk. I'm sure you can all get to bed a little earlier, maybe, for kids. It might be hard. But you have one thing in your toolkit that you can employ in that regard to move you towards making yourself feel a little better and get some health. So if you flick over to the last page, I hope that's the last page. Beautiful. So, there's two. Well, it's the last little section, but that's okay. So what this last bit is, and you can do it, I might wrap it up here, but if you want to fill this out, basically we're just transcribing the answers from those exercises into this little template or this little process. And it runs you through, okay, if I feel like this, I can do this. I might notice this and I can change this. So it gives you a bit more of a pragmatic approach to understanding how you're feeling and being able to zoom out and then act accordingly. because if we can do that, then it moves us away from when we get stuck just going, I just wish I didn't feel like this. I just want it to stop. I just wish it wasn't there. And when you battle that thought, why can't I just be happy? It just makes it a mission. And then when you do get happy, you're not happy, you're just relieved. So you're in this constant state of running away from the negative thought instead of accepting that it happens and choosing to act according to your values in a healthful way. The last part of that in there is about you guys as a collective and as a team, and having a think about what people, structures, or processes are actually in place that give you a liberty to interact with each other, check in. If you see Trudy is quiet, she hasn't given you a hug lately, then you can say, yeah, something's wrong. Trudes, do you need a hug? That's sometimes easier than, hey, Trudy, are you okay? Those conversations can be hard, but when you're talking about behaviours, it's much, much easier. Have you been for a surf on the weekend? I haven't been for a surf in months. That should prompt something else. So that can be a lot easier in this sort of environment than a really serious mental health discussion where I'm not even prepared to hear the answer because I'm stuck too. Does that make sense? Awesome. Does anyone have any questions on that? Great. I hope that was helpful. I might, if it's okay, Trudes, I'll do up a little. I'd love to get some feedback on the things that you found good, bad, and helpful about that. I might do up a little questionnaire, and if you can send it around for me, be like maybe 4 or 5 questions. I love that. That'd be great. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.